have Andrew here from Teledipity. And it's an app that many of you know because I've been talking nonstop about this. But it is the numerology app that I'm using every single freaking day these days. Not only because it's so accurate, but also because it's so much information that probably we know already we should do, but it's just like in your face. Like, and I also have the calendar because you have the option to do like, the normal let's say every week thing, and you also have the calendar option. And now I have the calendar, and every day is kind of in my face like, you should take a rest, you should take a rest. And I'm like, I don't want to, but I kind of have to. So I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. You have definitely created something that many people need to know about, and that's why I have you here in the podcast. So welcome, Andrew.
It is a pleasure to be here. I was laughing because someone gave me the same note the other day. He's like, I bought this calendar for motivation, and every week it tells me to rest. So what am I supposed
Exactly.
to?
Yeah. I'm like, not kidding. Like today, it's like you should just take it easy, just put it out. And I'm like, I have a full day of podcasting. I mean, that's kind of resting, but
Yeah.
okay. So tell us a little bit about you. So I already told Andrew, but I want everybody to know the structure of this podcast. We're gonna dive into different phases. We're gonna dive into who Andrew is and what got him to create this amazing app. And then we're gonna dive into numerology with money, which is spoiler alert. The first thing that my mom did was to take the numerology of my name and my brother's and everybody's in the family's name, and we have like our first gift was the square. How you say that? The picture, like a frame of our name, and the numerology behind our name and our date of birth. So numerology has been everywhere in my family since
Mm.
birth,
Mm.
and I'm very connected to it.
Mhm.
And then we are going to dive into some questions that some of you have. Hopefully, we can answer them all. If not, Andrew is very and their team is very open to answer questions. So we will leave every link and contact point on the show notes, so you can go ahead and download the app, see it for yourself, and just reach out to them. So let's start with who Andrew is and what got you to create Teledipity.
I am a guy from Mexico. I uh, I had a very very special bond with my grandmother growing up, and she was a very unique character in the 1980s in Mexico because she was like a literal 1950s housewife. And in Mexico, it's 95% Catholic and everybody's religious. And she was
Mhm.
not religious, but she was very spiritual. So in the 50s and 60s, she's the one with the crystals. She's the one with the astrology charts. She was like a millennial before her time. And
Wow.
numerology and all this stuff. And she was very passionate about it throughout her whole life. And I guess because I had a special bond with her, anything that, like, when you're a kid, when you look up to someone, you kind of want to do what they do. So I think it's like some people have with their dads, they want to go into race cars because their father was into race cars. I had a spiritual grandmother, and I got into crystals and numerology. So I think that's the first step.
Yeah.
And and I think, and then in college, I this is not as present anymore because I'm just a teenager or a young adult, and I want to be a writer. I've been a writer my whole life, and I've always either written stories or screenplays or just blogs. Writing has always been my passion. I wanted to study screenwriting, and then I graduated, and there were no jobs because it was the economic crisis of
Mm.
2010, and it was a very anxious time, and I had a very high anxiety, and was unemployed. And when you are in a deep um, panic, you usually reach out to these systems. because you want
Right.
your horoscope to tell you when it's going to be over. Like, this is the date where you get a
Oh,
job.
yes, we want. Yeah. Yep.
So I was roaming a lot of websites, and I discovered numerology again. I mean, I had heard about it before, but I wasn't following it that
Yeah.
closely. And I mean, of course, I am an enthusiast and an expert in a divine language, so I don't criticize or look down on any divine languages. But numerology spoke to me in a way that astrology didn't, and
Right.
said things that astrology was not saying, and was
Hmm.
very, very specific. And I just, when I'm curious about something, I want to know how it works. I want to know what's behind it. I want to know where it comes from, who invented it, and why it's so impressive. So I just became obsessed, and I started a collection of numerology books. Sometimes I would have to find them in old bookstores online because it was a book from the 70s that was out of print, and sometimes they were more modern or whatever. But I made a collection of like 70 numerology books, read them all, and just started teaching myself. Would pull charts for friends, family members, coworkers, bosses, love interests, celebrities, historical figures, politicians. And over time, as I started feeling more confident, then I started doing readings for family on New Year's Day. Like, here's what's going to happen next year. And then,
Wow.
like, I think I was not really in the entertainment industry anymore, but I was working in technology, and I was in a conference about entrepreneurship, and they were talking about what idea you should focus on for a business. And I don't remember who it was, but they said the idea that you should focus on with your business is the thing you can't stop thinking about all day. And I was like, well, that's numerology. So, okay. And
Right.
the website was born almost 9 years ago. So we're into a new full 9 year cycle. It was
Wow.
2015, August of 2015. But in the beginning, it was just a blog. I wasn't charging anybody for anything.
Hmm.
I made the profiles and the monthly forecasts, and it started growing word of mouth almost from the
Hmm.
very beginning. And then 3 years later, that's when it became big enough where I said, okay, this could be a business, and I'm going to quit my job to make it into a business. So it was a slow start,
Yeah.
more a passion project than a business. But that's
Business that focuses on bringing light through numerology. Like that's your love language.
mhm.
Love
Yeah. I
it.
think I think. Um, do you know when my vision for this app is that uh, you you know how you wake up with the perfect plan for the day, and then things get in the way and you forget what your plan was. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be grateful all day, or I'm going to be positive, or I'm going to work on whatever. But then things happen that kind of trigger you or grab your thoughts and take them in a different direction. I wanted to build the counter of that, the thing that surprises you in the middle of the day and triggers you, but in a positive way, is like to get you to come back to where you were supposed to be if you've been
Right.
distracted with something else. So, like, remember, you have this dream, and it's actually a really good time for it. And don't worry, you don't have to finish it all today, but like, remember the things like that you're like, just being the counter to those things that usually push us in the wrong direction. So I don't see it. I don't like to present it as like the answer to like what's going to fix you or what's going to heal you or what's going to turn you into
Right.
superhuman. It's just little nuggets to bring you back from the crazy of spiraling thoughts that happen throughout the day. And I just wanted to do that well, and that was the problem I wanted to fix. Is this your mind going somewhere else?
Have accomplished your mission, like your vision, if that's it. Because throughout our days, especially as an entrepreneurs, you have so many things in your head, and it is difficult to find an anchor. And it's easier to blame, like, oh, I didn't do this, or I did this that created a ripple effect. So I think that's a and that's one of the points that I really like from the app. I was just opening what it says on my thing in my calendar today, and it says the whole week spiritual work. I cannot tell you how much spiritual shit I have done this week. Like I haven't rested, because even on dream time, I'm like going into that spirituality. And if I didn't have that reminder, I will be like, I need to sleep. I cannot really get deep into this because I have this other stuff. But because I was able to see that for me especially, and I will circle back to your grandmother and Mexico as well because I love it. But to me, growing up in an environment where spirituality was there, it's just like the conversation on the table. My grandma is spiritual, my mom's well. Um, I think everybody in my family, except my dad, or the masculine side of it, is very spiritual. It's normal to me to go into these tangents, but then you get into entrepreneurship. It's like, forget about that. You just have to do the step by step. And that's a really good reminder. It's like, maybe this week is not about the step by step. It's just about getting into that space because of your final goal. So I really love about that. But let's circle back to those beginnings with your grandmother, because one thing that I have found that has a great impact in money mindset, especially, is your identity. Money mindset and entrepreneurship itself
Mhm.
is your identity. And I love how you really said, I was very close with my grandmother. That's what I learned. And that's what I'm doing right now. Do you find at any point of your journey doubting that, well, it's just like spiritual, not really? Talk to us about that.
Did you find at any time that you done it? Yes.
Is this real?
I mean, which year? I can tell you from. I can tell you. Give you examples from even in the last year because I don't think. I think. I. So how do you like? Ooh, there's so much to say. First of all, when we talk about like life mission,
Mhm.
there might be the same theme, but you will fulfill it in different ways throughout your life. So there's no one role that you play your whole life that fulfills
Right.
that. There's roles that come at different times. So um we normally think in terms of like I find the thing and I keep it for the rest of my life. For example, we think I find the love of my life and then we get married and then we're married forever. I find the dream job and then I keep it forever. I find the perfect house and then I keep it forever. But that's not really like life. There's just we go through different seasons and
Mhm.
change is constant. So I think that deciding whether you should be working on something is an ongoing thing and never stops, even when it's successful
Mhm.
and you see it grow into what you wanted it to be. Then you have to decide is this it, or do I now want to go somewhere else?
Yeah.
Because I think because the soul keeps aching for experiences and knowledge and challenges. So I don't think there's like you find the thing and it stays with you. But in terms of working on spirituality or like doubting that, I think
Mhm.
um, so. I have so I'm just going to say what I think, and I'm not going to
Yeah,
edit myself.
absolutely.
Um, I have a lot of feelings about the spiritual business world
Mhm.
because, of course, I'm in it. But even before I was in it, I think just from intuition, it's not that it's wrong to make money with spiritual services. That's how spirituality works.
Mhm.
From the beginnings of history, every spiritual worker has charged for their services. So there's no mismatch there. However, you can see from intuition when somebody is doing their work from the right mindset and when they're not. When they're playing a
Mhm.
role or when they're following a trend or when they're like just where the eyes are. So if it's spirituality, they'll be there. If it's crypto, they'll be there. If it's like whatever else, they'll move. Like it's just where the thing are. And we have a lot of when I started Teledipity,
Mhm.
the spiritual wellness space was not trendy. And now it's become trendy. And I think a lot of that has changed. But in general, um I think because I feel like I'm not a part of that world or like don't exactly want to do my work in the same way that I feel like my problem was not to say that I'm spiritual because I always said I was into numerology and never was afraid of being judged by about that or stigmatized by
Mhm.
that. But I do, in all honesty, I do like in the normal world. I can see where like I'm like saying I have this numerology horoscope app, just the questions I get. Like, for example, somebody asked me, "Oh, and do you believe in that?" And I
Mm,
was like,
right.
"Yeah."
I
Like,
mean,
yeah, like, because if like, and he was like, "Well, no, because like, like there's people who do businesses and things they don't believe in because they're a good business." And I'm like, "But do you realize how
mm,
like evil it is to play with people's spirituality for money when you don't believe? Like, that's just no, like, it's not like that's like somebody asking you, are you a murderer? Like, of course,
yeah,
like, but like, like there's this, I don't know,
yeah, I understand. I
if like, I don't know how to explain it, but when you are a spiritual entrepreneur and you
mhm,
take your work seriously and you're not like, you're not going to the, what I consider the dark side of it, and you're
mhm,
just doing your thing for the joy and the happiness and actually having an impact in people's lives and just being yourself, and you say that you do that kind of work, I think it's similar to when you're like a porn entrepreneur. Like,
mhm,
you can
yeah,
say like, I have this porn online business, and people are like, okay, and like, I don't
yeah.
know, it's like
It triggers people as
they
well.
think you are, they assume, I don't know, so I struggle
Yeah,
with that.
yeah,
But
with
in terms of me embracing my spirituality publicly, I don't struggle with that. And in terms
yeah,
of me deciding whether I wanted to do a spiritual business, I think when I think in the beginning maybe I had other business ideas, but when I realized that, a, I'm a really good writer and I always wanted to write for a living. B, I knew what I was doing with technology because I had worked in it for a long time, so I could build a website by myself. And C, the whole like the whole philosophy of like, do what you can, stuff, like, I just had all the ingredients,
yeah.
so it just like, I don't know, I didn't doubt it once I realized that I could do it. Because when you, I don't know, I think I'm rambling, but when you
I
when
love it.
you when you build a business, I don't I'm not a supporter of hustle culture,
Hmm.
but you are marrying into something for a very long time. So if you don't
That's
love
right.
it, I don't know if you are going to be able to do it,
Yeah.
because it's kind of like being a parent. It's extremely rewarding. Nobody regrets it, or maybe some people do, but most people don't regret it. But that does not mean
It's
that it's
easy.
always sunshine and rainbows. So
Yeah.
imagine doing all of that. We like, imagine going through everything that we've gone through for something that you're not passionate about. I don't think it's even possible.
And thank you for that separation, because what I help people the most when it comes to identity is like, am I even be able to share this?
Mhm.
Like, am I like, can I stand behind what I believe? Which you have said, that's not the problem for me. The problem for me is when people, or kind of like, not the problem, but the confrontation is like, but do you believe in it? And then it's kind of like the universe coming like, oh, that sounds good, but do you believe in it? But what I found, especially working with money mindset myself, is like, when I talk about financial trauma and these people that are very logical minded, is like, oh yeah, but everybody can do it. I'm like, but no, that's not the point. The point is like, there are certain things that have been our experience, that comes from this identity, and there is people that is going to validate that, and there is people that is not, and is going to, confrontate, because it's the reflection of their mind as well. So that's
Yeah.
so important for the to become aware in the entrepreneurial world, because it's just like, it's literally putting your voice out there and saying, this is my reality, this is how I
Yeah.
see it, I create a solution
Mhm.
for the problem that I saw. And if I saw it, most likely there is going to be like
Mhm.
2,000, 3,000 million people out there
Yeah.
also looking
Well,
looking through it.
and also I think it's not even with spirituality, but in anything. Like, when you put yourself out there with content, with services, someone's going to stigmatize you. Someone's going to
That's right.
say that you're not whatever, and like, someone's going to criticize you. Someone's going to not take it seriously. Someone's not going to take you seriously. And you know what? sometimes it will still bother you 8 years later,
Yeah.
and that's okay too, because you're human. It's not about like, oh, I don't care
Yeah.
what anybody like. Sometimes it will bug you, but
Yeah.
the bottom line is you keep going and it's okay.
Yeah.
And
I
I think
I agree
the
with that.
most liberating thing for me is in like engaging, because I think there's amazing entrepreneurs in the space as well. I don't think I'm the only one doing it correctly, but like engaging with the space, but also um, not losing my identity to it. Like I have to do it the way that they all do it, or build my business in the same way, or sell things in the same way, or like just getting into this hive mind mentality where like we are all in this group, and like you can just do it your own way. Like you have your own special approach to
Yeah.
spirituality that's not like other people do it. Like the way I always thought about numerology and spirituality, I don't think was similar to other numerologies with their websites. So I just put it out like the way my brain works out into the world, and some people like it and some people don't, but that's all you
Yeah.
can do, is be yourself and put it out there. So
I lo- yeah.
whatever you the way your brain works will be useful to someone, and that's all that it is.
How was the first realization of, oh, this is an app? Like from the website to being an app to being this accessible thing for today.
Okay, so the moment I realized it was an app is when I got the idea. I visualized my business as an app. The reason it was a website first was that I didn't have the money to build an app, so I just put it
Hmm.
on a very basic website, always with the plan to turn it into an app eventually. But from the very first day when I visualized what Teledipity would be, it was an app. It was not. Mhm.
What, can I ask why? If you know why, the reason why, or you just saw it as an app?
I don't think there. I saw it as an app. I think. I mean, it's weird what you're saying, that apps were not popular and now there are. Like I don't like. I want to hear more about that in another call.
Yeah.
But in like when I got the idea, it was 2011, so the iPhones are just starting. So it
Hmm.
was the app craze. But
Yeah.
I think we were all like 2011. I had my first iPhone, and I think it was like months later. Like we were all seeing all the ways that our lives were changing because of these things. Like the like Tinder had just come out, and like all these connections. Like there was boundless possibility. So I just thought of like a companion in your life that could send you notifications, that could interrupt your day, sending you messages
Yeah. Yeah.
based on
Yeah.
numerology. So yeah, like I don't know that even works on a
Yeah.
website, because it has to be
I
able
don't
to
think so.
interrupt you in the middle of the day. Anyway.
Yeah, it has to be your companion. Like your
Hmm.
cell phone is your companion
Hmm.
nowadays. It
Hmm.
makes so much sense. Okay. Um, I have a question that I need to ask from the public, which is about the cycles. And you mentioned that Teledipity is coming to the 9 year cycles, right?
Hmm.
So, how do cycles work? Why do we like kind of come into the 9 year cycle? And wait, I'm gonna look for the question specific. It's a long question, but let me
Hmm.
see if I can. If I can. Um, which each personal year, if he thinks there is any major themes that one should focus during the cycles during that personal year that can maximize the energy of the year on those cycles. Okay. So there are two questions here. One, what is cycles about? 9 year cycles. And now with your experience with the upcoming, how you are experiencing that cycle as well. And two, if you think there are major themes on each year of that cycle, um, that one should focus on during that personal year that can maximize the energy of the year.
So the major themes that you should focus on in each year that will maximize the opportunities of the year are all explained in your forecast. That's where I explain every single thing. So
Yeah.
like if you read like, and even in the free version, you don't even have to be a premium member. It's laid out. Like here's what this year's about and here's how to maximize it. If you're talking about each individual year, I think that's what it is. But I think I don't know, like cycle is a word that is used at different levels of the numerology algorithm for different things. So, for example, it's like saying episodes. There's the episode like this week is an episode, but the 3 month period can be an episode, or like the last decade can be an episode. I don't like. I think it depends. But let me
Mhm.
just maybe give a summary of how numerology works.
Yeah.
So I really wish I had like a blackboard. A numerology chart has two main sections. One
Mhm.
is how you arrived into this lifetime, in terms of talents, personality, perspective, strengths, weaknesses, just who you were before. Like, because obviously your soul has a history, and before
Mhm.
that happened before this lifetime, and who you were when you arrived at your birth. The other part of your chart is what you came here to do, what you came here to experience, so that you could take the next step in your soul's evolution, whatever that means, and wherever that leads you, we don't know. Those are the mysteries of life that numerology even can explain, but it's only giving you these two very important pieces of information: how you arrived, what you came here to do. That's when we talk about forecasting and life mission and cycles. We're talking about this part of the chart. We're talking about personality and compatibility and the talents and weaknesses. We're talking about this part of the chart. So this part of the chart is like a triangle, and at the top you have your main number. Your life mission is like the most important number on your chart, like your sun sign in astrology.
Mhm.
The life mission number is the same in numerology. It's like I'm a 5.
I don't know.
Okay, okay, we'll look it up. And then that is divided into three main cycles, but these are long cycles:
Mhm.
youth from birth to around age 31, 32; maturity from 32 to around 57. It changes depending on the chart, so it's around that time; and advanced age from 57 onwards. So there's three main episodes in your life. Each of them have a number associated with them, which is like in your, like, if you think of your life as like a master's degree. So then you have the first semester, the second semester, and the third semester, and each have their own focus that advance you along the main arc of you storyline of your life. And then we zoom into those three main cycles. And those three main cycles are divided into 9 year cycles,
Mhm.
each with their own focus. And then those 9 year cycles, each year has their own focus. And inside the years, each month has their own focus. And inside the month, each week has its own focus. And inside the week,
Right.
each day has its own focus. So it's kind of like this big fractal that is
Mhm.
going down, 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 and also up, 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 up. Because we could zoom out into human history. There's 9 cycles of 9 years, so 81 year cycles, but that's really more for world history. And on like 9 cycles of 9 cycles of 9 years, 9 cycles of nine. Da, 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 da. So like that's kind of like how the numerology believes the algorithm of the universe is built. So when we're talking
Yeah.
about your own life, cycle can mean different things. But
Mhm.
by the way, you get all this information with your free chart and Teledipity. So if you want to know what all that is for you, you don't have to pay a numerologist. Just sign up for Teledipity. It explains everything in your free profile. Your main cycles, your maturity, your blah, blah, all of that is there. But
It's
when we're
it's
talking about
incredible the amount of information that you can get for free, which is another question, but let's finish this one.
okay, so when we're talking about 9 year cycles, that's just how numerology works. Is like you're constantly going from a 1 year to a 9 year to a 1 year to a 9. Now, when we look at what the what the year you are says about your life, so like you're in a 3 year and it means these things. Those are all, one, extremely accurate, two, extremely specific, and three, apply to everybody who's in a 3 year.
Mhm.
However, it's not the whole story, because there's other levels to your chart that also influence what you're going through, but those are more specific to you than everybody else who's also in a 3 year. So it's not like everybody has the same experiences in a 3 year. There's a lot of connection between the themes. And if you felt like, if you have a friend who's also in the same year as you, you'll see the parallels. Like this month was hard on both of us, but it was for
Right.
different reasons. And like you could see how that's how I self-taught numerology, because you see all the patterns that come up in everybody's life. But it's not that you experience the same things over and over again every 9 years, but the themes return. So, like when we're talking about a theme, think about a movie. These are two romantic comedies. they're
Hmm.
like very similar in their structure, and the end is similar, and they feel the same way, but the stories are completely different. They're in different, like you're in different places, like it's different characters, different situations, but the arc, the emotional arc of the plot is very
Hmm.
similar. That's what we mean when it's like, so if you are in, like, if you just any, like today, 2024, think about what you were going through in 2015, which was 9 years ago, and you'll see how it's very similar. You're in a different place in your life, you're in a different relationship, you're in a different job, but you'll notice the similarities. Or think about last year, 2014. No,
Yeah.
last year was 2023. That would have been 2014 last year. Look at the parallels, and you'll see. It's not that you live through the same situation every 9 years, but you'll see the
Yeah.
themes are repeating and repeating, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, you just reminded me. So 2014 was when I decided to leave my house, and
Uh-huh.
last year was when I decided to move again. So I'm like, okay, yeah, it makes completely sense. And
Yeah.
that's one of the answers to one of the questions that we had
Mhm.
here is how your collective cycles goes with the personal. So it's kind of like if everybody that is going through the cycle number 3 will experience certain stuff, but the flavor is different because we are all different, and the perspective. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see how we kind of repeat the cycles in some way, and we
Mhm.
can't forget that because there's so much learnings that I had in 2014 when I did the big jump, that now I'm sitting down like, oh shoot, I need to write this down because that is like kind of coming back again now as I move. I love that explanation, especially with the romantic soap, on point. But the other question that we have that I want us to get into is, um, how can you get all of this information only with your name? Because you don't have to put your date of birth on the app, right? Or
Mhm.
do you? I don't
No,
remember. No,
numerology does
right?
not
It's
need
just
that.
it's
Yeah.
right. So it's only with your name, which is in astrology, you have to be very
Mhm.
precise and exact with your birth. How can you get all of this information based only on that?
Because the algorithm works different from the way the algorithm of astrology works. Astrology is looking at the position of the planets, so the time you were born is very important. Numerology is looking at the makeup of your numbers, your personal numbers. So remember when I said part of the chart is how you arrived, and part of the chart is what you came here to do. How you arrived is your full name at birth. What you came here to do is your birth date. So the inputs,
Oh,
that the algorithm uses are the name and the birth date, not the, like, it doesn't, numerology doesn't need the time. So in, like, maybe more granularly, and when we're talking about divine languages, there's no why. Like, why is it that way and not this
yeah.
way? Who knows? Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
I have no idea. But like in numerology parlance, there's very important significance, not just to your name, but how your full name, with all the middle names and all the last names, was written for the first time after you were born. So of course,
Yeah.
300 years ago, they didn't have birth certificates, but it was how somebody wrote it after you were born.
Mm.
And what numerology believes about that is that that is your soul contract. And that's why
Wow.
sometimes people have like five names and they never use them again, but somehow the father wanted to put the five names in there. There is a spiritual significance there because those are the ingredients of that person's chart. And
Right.
the naming of a baby is a very important spiritual moment because parents will say this all the time. And I mean, I don't know if you've chosen the name already or not, but like I hear this all the time. It's like I had this one thing in mind, but then like either close to the birth or right after the birth, another one came in. It's like this is it.
This is it.
What's
Yeah.
happening is you're channeling the right name, and that's why you feel like this is it. And you don't decide the name. There's some spiritual force, probably some part of your child's soul somewhere that's giving. It's
Hmm.
like this is who I am, and that's why it's so significant. And that's why with astrology, the important thing to get the right chart is the name of the time of birth. In numerology, the important thing to get the right chart is everything that is in your birth certificate. I don't care if it's a middle name that you don't use anymore. That's not what we're
Hmm.
talking about. What we're talking about is what is in your birth certificate, because that's where the full chart is. Because people will
Right.
argue with me about this all the time. It's like, but I don't use this name anymore. It's like, but it's not about that. Like, it's just the algorithm
Yeah.
is asking for
Yeah.
this information. You can change it later, and that's fine. But to look at your chart, we need to look at what it was when you were born. So
Yeah.
the difficulty with numerology is that either sometimes people don't like that name and don't want to use it,
Hmm.
and even though I explain in the app you have to put it in, they'll still ignore me,
Yeah. Yeah.
or um, uh, maybe they don't remember what it was, or they don't, or they're like whatever. But it's like you have to put it exactly as it was in the birth certificate.
Funny magnitude
Mm-hmm.
experience with the app. So
Mm-hmm.
my name, I go Alejandra Rojas. That's the name I always remember, always, and I just put it like that when we were all signing up for the app. And they came out exactly what I believe personally, since I adopted this identity of only Alejandra Rojas and not my full two names, two last names.
Mm-hmm.
Um, exactly what I thought for myself. When I reread the app and I said it has to be your full name, and I put everything in there, it was so different. I'm like, who is this person? That's not me. But I was like, okay, maybe that is me. And throughout the like the weeks, and when I was reading all the summary, which is like 67 pages of summary that you have, it's like, oh yes, it's this is what I, for some reason, I walk away from, but this is really speaking to who am I as a whole,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
only to what I perceive me being
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. There's a. I'll explain why that happened,
Yeah.
because this is a perfect example. There's a difference between how you arrived and what your goal is for yourself today. What your goal is for yourself maybe is not exactly what you're displaying, but it's how you want to see yourself, who you want to become, who you're working into becoming. So it's like you are setting your new goal. Because of course, the name at birth is a snapshot. It will change
Mhm.
throughout the life with you, the things you learn and how you change. And the more life you've lived, the more you start like moving away from that first snapshot and moving into something else. So when you choose a name for yourself, it's like this is the new name. Especially like I'm like with artists, with writers, like maybe they have an artistic name, or maybe they have a name that they like to use for their business or whatever. It's not their legal name. Usually that has to do
Mhm.
with their perceiving from the energy of that name. Like, I want to display this. I want people to see me this way.
Yeah.
I want to become this. So there's significance in that, in terms of here's what you're perceiving you want to be more of. But that's different
Mhm.
from how you arrived, and what we want to look at in your app is how you arrived. But there's like, it's not that like, it's not uninteresting to look at the numerology of your chosen name, but there's a difference between who you are and who you want.
Valuable difference,
Yeah, and who
because
you
some
are and how you see
yeah.
yourself. Sometimes that's different too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It makes a lot of difference for entrepreneurship. Let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
it makes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of difference
Mm-hmm.
for this identity. Okay, I'm gonna jump quickly to another one, to another
Yeah,
question, because we are reaching out the end of the episode. I feel like I don't want to let you go. I want to
we
talk
can
about
we
this
can keep
forever.
we can keep. I don't have another call, so we can just keep talking.
Jump into this one. So she says, I was taught that my yearly number runs birthday to birthday, not January to January. So I am in a year 5 and I will be a year 6 in June. But on the app, it says I am already in year 6. I would like to know his perspective on this.
Ah, your audience knows numerology, because the answer is very simple. And by the way, I get this question all the time, but it's usually from
Okay.
people who have taken numerology courses. Here's what's happening. Are you aware of Western astrology versus Vedic astrology?
I'm sure she is. I'm sure the
So,
person
like, but are
asking
you?
this, she is.
I'm no, but I'm
No,
talking to
I'm
you. Yeah,
not. I'm
yeah. Okay, okay.
not.
So their astrology, they have the signs Capricorn, Aquarius, blah blah blah. But their formulas are different, so they give you different results. In one, you're a Capricorn, in another one, you're a Gemini. In one,
Hmm.
you're whatever. The Jupiter's in another position than the other, because they're calculating things differently, because they have different lineages. So they're both astrology, and they're very similar in what they're talking about, what they're interpreting, and what they're and how they're helping people, but their formulas are different. And in reality, what you're seeing is like these are two different schools of the same
Hmm.
divine language that have disagreements about how things are calculated. And they say that it's done this way, and they say that it's done this way, and there's no judge because there's no like central authority of what numerology is like we have with the sciences or mathematics. So it's just an endless debate that has no answer. So when we're talking about Pythagorean numerology, the problem is that because we see math, we think it's as perfect as math. Like this is arithmetic. All the formulas, the formula says this, so I'm getting a different result. So why is that happening? The reason why that's happening is there's actually like I think maybe there's more than 5 schools of Pythagorean numerology, and they all have different formulas.
Wow.
They calculate
Yeah.
things differently. They have disagreements about what is the right way to do things. And the main one where we have this separation between the 2 schools of numerology is when the personal year starts. There is January 1 numerology. It always starts in January 1, regardless of when your birthday is. And then there's birthday to birthday numerology, which is your personal year doesn't begin until your birthday. The problem with that, not in terms of like I'm not going to say I'm right and they're wrong, because there's
Hmm.
no like that's just your intuition. Whatever you want to follow is fine. But there is a problem when you are like an enthusiast of birthday to birthday numerology and then want to use Teledipity, because you can't just like adapt it to the way you use numerology, because it's a completely different thing. Because if you start counting on your birthday, then January is not a 5 month, it's a 1 month, and then the week is different. So if you try to get my content but you're a follower of the other like it doesn't work. So because sometimes people ask me to just build my calendar with birthday to birthday numerology, is like it doesn't work like that. If I do that,
Right.
you're gonna get wrong information, and I don't want to sell you wrong information. So if you're a follower of birthday to birthday numerology, you just have to follow whoever is building that app. I don't know if it exists or not. I will say,
Right.
and there's a lot of like if you read in a bunch of numerology books, you'll notice like most formulas are the same across the board, but then there's other differences in other parts of the algorithm. And then you just have to make your, if you want to be a numerologist, you have to, through intuition, figure out like this is what the formula is doing,
Which
this is
one?
how it works,
Yeah.
and this makes more sense for this and this reason. So I went through this exercise in choosing
Hmm.
January 1 numerology, and there's a lot of reasons that I can explain why it makes sense to me, not just in terms of like this is what I feel, but like actual arguments. Maybe there's no time for that, but January 1 numerology is like 80% of numerologists, books, the internet, websites. It's the most popular one. Birthday to birthday
Mm.
numerology, even though it has its followers and its communities and it's much more niche. And when you where you mostly see it is in like the numerology courses and like the groups like there it's a more of a niche school. And January
Okay.
1 has the biggest history, and most of the figures in the numerology lineage have followed January 1 numerology. So I don't know what's right, but there is more weight behind January 1 numerology. So if you don't know what to decide because you don't want to be a numerologist, don't worry
Yeah.
about that. Just read what Teledipity sends you, and see if it works, see if it
If it
adds to your
resonates.
life,
Yeah.
because you don't have to get into these debates that we numerologists have. It doesn't matter. Just choose the person that's interpreting your life most accurately and follow them,
Yeah.
and don't worry
Yeah.
about how the formulas work.
Okay. So is it Teledipity is based on all of your studies and research and kind of like your own not own interpretations, but your
Mhm.
conclusions and point of views? Um, or is it also powered by AI, or is it both?
It's not powered by AI. There's no AI. There was a crowdfunding campaign I
Wow.
did like 4 years ago, where I wanted to put AI in the, because I was like, maybe that's cool. This is before the AI craze. And I was like, maybe I
Yeah.
want to use AI in Teledipity. So I for like a few months I marketed Teledipity as AI plus numerology,
Yeah.
and sometimes when you Google it, it comes up. I don't know, like, and then people reach out to me saying like, "You're an AI entrepreneur," and I like, there's no AI in Teledipity. I've decided not to do that.
Right.
I had this chatbot that I was
Wow.
testing. I'm putting it out
Yeah.
because I've made the conscious choice to not go in that direction for a variety of reasons. So
Yeah.
what you get from Teledipity is all numerology.
by the way, we
Mhm.
talked about it before the episode started, but it also comes this. It comes new versions of the app on Spanish and Portuguese. Can I say this as
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
in the okay, Spanish and Portuguese, and it's coming a whole bunch of changes, and I think it's so freaking amazing that you have put all of this knowledge into an app and that we can just have it like literally. We were mind blowing when we were all going through the stuff. Like 67 pages. Like who write all of this for like for you and your partner, you and your daughter, and like we did so many stuff. It's so comprehensive. The studies that, or not the studies, the reports that you have drawn into the app, which leads me to the question that I need to ask: how is it that most of the things in the app are for free? What is your thought process behind it? Because it's such a variety and value on the product itself. How is it that it's for free? Like why is it? And if you don't want to answer the question, just say
No, I can answer.
whatever.
I can
Okay,
answer,
go
but
ahead.
I don't think that I can give like a business philosophy answer, like this is how you build an internet business, blah blah blah, because I don't
Yeah.
know if I don't even know if, like, I don't know, it works and I like it this way. But when I started talking about money mindset stuff, I did not like I was more interested in sharing the knowledge and building something that people would use than selling it. I had a job. I was doing fine with money. I did not selling just didn't feel correct. And I like and I also saw numerology as new because I mean back then, like I tell you, like, I'm gonna calculate your life with numbers, and people haven't seen what that is. Like, they're not going to pay for it. Like, you have to just
Right.
experience it and see how crazy it is, and then you will be linked. So like it just, like, I'm just very instinctive, and it just felt wrong. And then I remember, I don't know who it was, this is a long time ago, but I remember like one of those serendipitous moments where I was just scrolling online, and then an ad came on, and then this video came on my face with some business philosophy person saying something along the lines of, don't worry about selling, worry about building an audience. And if you build an audience, the money will come. But just focus on giving value and connecting with people and adding an impact to their lives. And once people love you and can see how you're helping them, it will be the easiest thing to start selling stuff. And I just saw it as a sign. Like, it was just too serendipitous. I
Mhm.
was like, okay, the universe is telling me exactly what to do. So for 3 years, I put out the podcast, I put out the forecast, I put out all of that, and I did not ask for a cent. But as it grew and my costs grew, then I had to start charging. So like it was
Right.
almost like, I never had like, no, I'm gonna sell things. It was like every step has been like, the universe is telling me, like, if you don't make more money, this is over. And I'm like, okay, I'll make more money. So like at first it was premium, and then it was the calendars, and like all the other services I put. It's when there's an emergency and I need to pay for something, then I'll put something new out that covers it. So it's almost like the
Right.
business is telling me now it's time to make more money versus the other way around. And to be honest, maybe that's wrong. Maybe somebody else could have done it better. Maybe somebody else could have built a business in a whatever. It's just how I've done it, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
I, I love it. I love it. And I respect that point of view so much because from some of the people that have come to me and say, how can you build something for free? It's just your point of view. It's really whatever feels aligned to you. Because guess what? If you're trying to push a price or selling something and it feels wrong, you're not going to be able to hold it. That's the
Hmm.
reality of money mindset. It's
Hmm.
just like, even if you say you need to charge, I don't know, 30 euros for this right now, and you don't believe that that's possible, or you don't believe that you should do that, then you're going to try the first week and the second week when it
Yeah.
hasn't quote unquote work, then you just bulk up
Yeah.
from it. So
Also,
I
I
love,
think I think
yeah.
if what you're selling, because it's your case and it's my case and it's the case for a lot of the people probably listening to your podcast, if what you're selling is your brain, then you need to give people access to how your brain works for them to see that that's something that they should pay for. Because if they don't know how your brain works, well, how are they going to pay for it? Because I'm selling how my brain
Right.
processes numerology, and it is unique. Nobody does it like me, and it's very impactful. So come into my mind for a bit and see how all the bells and whistles. And if it helps you, then pay. But if not, it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I love it. I love it so much because that's exactly what it is. It's not about messaging. It's about you need to understand how I see things. Really,
Exactly.
that's the end of
Exactly.
it. Okay, and I'm gonna close this podcast with the
Mhm.
one question I know everybody's dying to know. How does numerology relate to money and increasing the flow of money from your perspective?
If the question is coming from the angle of superstition, as in the day you register your business makes it successful, or
Mm,
doing some sort of ritual with numbers to make money, or choosing a specific office because of the numbers, or like launching your thing on a special date for you because of the powers associated with that date. The answer is it doesn't. It no, numerology does not help you with that, and it's I think, and this is my opinion, I don't think that that's what numerology is for, and I don't think that that's actually spirituality, because there's a difference between spirituality and superstition. And
right.
spirituality is I trust the universe, and superstition is I want to control the universe. So, for example, and I hope I'm not insulting anybody who's listening to your podcast. Maybe there's somebody out there. It's just my opinion. I don't know.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not the arbiter of life. It's just how I see things. There's people who do C-sections in order for their baby to be born on a specific astrological date because they want their kid to have some ascendant, some whatever. And people do the same with businesses, and people do the same with like. Think about what that means, because if you're a
Yeah.
spiritual person, the main thing that drives that is your belief that the universe is perfect and that things happen in the right timing.
Right.
And if you are trying to control timing and tell the universe, this is what my baby is supposed to be, and this is what, like, this is like, that's not actual spirituality. That's trying to control your life. But I don't think when we're talking about spirituality, when we're talking about law of attraction, we're talking about numerology, we have to be very clear. You're not trying to control. There's a difference between freedom and control. And control
Hmm.
is, let me put these numbers together so that there's a ritual that more money comes, or let me launch my business in this day, or give it this number. That's control, trying to hack into the universe to get what you want out of it. And spirituality
Hmm.
is like more, I feel drawn to this experience. I know it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I feel ready to get started, and I'm just going to throw myself in like you throw yourself off a plane with a parachute, or like you dive into the pool. I am scared. I don't know what's going to happen. It's probably not always going to be fun. And there will be parts of the journey where I'll feel like I failed, where I don't have enough money, where I am struggling. But because I have so much faith in the outcome and the final destination, I know I'm never in trouble. I know it's never as bad as it seems. And I just keep going. So, in terms
Hmm.
of, instead of trying to prevent difficult experiences from happening, you have so much faith in the outcome that you can get through them smoother and easier. But you're not eliminating them from your journey, because they have a lot of like, really, like when you're building a business, maybe you think from the physical plane that what you're trying to do is make money for freedom and for life, which is our important things, and there's nothing bad with money. Like, making money
Right.
is awesome, and like, I'm not trying to say that, but like, maybe you are visualizing that more because of the evolution your soul wants to go through than because of how much money you'll get at the end. So
Mm,
I
love
think
it. Yeah.
I think that numerology helps you make money because it helps you focus on the parts of your journey that don't have to do with money. If you know, and of course, you're the person who helps them with their money traumas, which are a real thing, and I've had them too, and I've worked on them, and that's a separate story. But like, if you are just, if you have faith that you'll make it, then numerology helps you with every part of your journey and what's being asked of you in every chapter. Sometimes things that don't have to do with money, like vulnerability, like patience, like adaptability, flexibility, imagination, creativity, all the things that come in a numerology chart. Like, this is what you should work on right now. And you work on
Mhm.
them because you are focused on your destination, and the destination happens. I don't like, everybody has their algorithm, right? And
Yeah.
I want to hear more about just what your work is. I think in my journey, I made the least money when I was focused on making money, and I've made the most money
Yeah.
when I forgot about it and focused on other
Hmm.
things. And that's when it started. Like, suddenly just because it wasn't what I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
focused on, and it wasn't what I was giving importance. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
It makes total sense. And I'm gonna summarize it with my interpretation of what you just said here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the thing is that everything has to do with everything when you're a human being and when you are a entrepreneur that is putting, like we said, your brain out there. It's not only, oh, it's about the money, it's about creativity, or it's about, everything has to do with everything. And when you are focusing on the subject money from the lack perspective, which is, I want more of this, what is taken is the space, the oxygen, everything that you need to focus on the real, what I call the real currency of entrepreneurship, which is creativity. um, you are taking away from that and you're putting it into something that you want to control, but you are immediately telling, I cannot control you. That's what I need these other things to tell me that I can control you. But if, like you said, if you focus on the different themes of your life, because everything has to do with everything, then you go in a smoother ride. And
Mm-hmm.
then, oh, here it is, because it's inevitable. I always say here on the podcast and everything that I do, money is inevitable. We live in a financial system that has money. Like, it is inevitable not to have money
Mm-hmm.
because of the financial system that we live in and the economy that we live in. If you want to buy something, you need money. If you want to sell something, you need money. So therefore, money is a fact of the equation.
Yeah.
But you focusing on that takes away from your soul pathway that wants to
Yeah.
explore, because I cannot, and I'm very a picture person. So I'm now imagining a little soul going into, I'm going to figure out all of these bills and all of these things. I'm like, that's not fun. It's more fun to me to go through life, like really understanding what is this connection that I have with the spiritual world. How can I be more creative? How can I explore all of these gifts?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the again teledipity does a great job putting the focus back in there. So I am going to close this podcast here because I loved it. I got goosebumps when you were talking about this last question. But not I'm not going to leave without inviting you again to go and download the app and see it for yourself. See if it works or if it doesn't, why it works, resonates with you or not. And it's a lot of resources available for free. I'm going to put the link on the show notes below so I don't mess it up again with the pronunciation. Um, but if you do download it, come and talk to me about what you find out. Come and tell me everything that I have no idea what it means, but I'm always eager to know and learn more about it. And I'm going to share with you everything that it says, especially the first summary. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to go download the app. And when you do, and you put your complete name, don't forget that, take the summary that it gives you because it's so accurate. Like those 4 or 5 sentences at the beginning says so much, and I want to know what's yours, and I will share with you what is mine, so you can really get to participate in this amazing discovery of ourselves. Andrew, thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything else that you wish to say to the people?
Thank you if you use Teledipity for the opportunity to add something small into your day. And I've done it for 9 years and continue to do it with love and with joy for this algorithm and for what it can add to your life. So if you're using it, I want to thank you for that, because um, it's a dream come true to be able to help in a small way, and I could not be more grateful. If you want to send me numerology related questions, they will be someone in my team will see them, and then they will put them in an inbox that I cannot check every day, and that sometimes it takes me many weeks to respond to. So don't worry if it's been a month and you haven't gotten a reply. I will get to it, but I just don't cannot answer those all the time. So I'll see it eventually. But thank you for sending questions. Thank you for using Teledipity. Thank you for the amazing invitation. And I'm happy to come back anytime. And it's been awesome.